Ladies and gentlemen, tonight we pick up an issue which matters to you and me and also the coming generations. Have you heard of ChatGPT? OpenAI. Phenomenal. You ask it a question and it will give you answers. It doesn't stop there. You ask it anything, it will search the entire internet and give you options. You want it in 100 words, it will give you that. You want it in 200 words, it will give you that. If you want it in 300 words, it will give you that. So much so that you need to write an essay and you tell the AI, this is what I want and I want an essay in 100 words for this, 200 words for this, 300 words, it will give you that. Will you just copy paste that and put it? Is that making us smarter? Is that making us dumber? Is that going to make human resource redundant going forward? Plenty of questions, ladies and gentlemen. It's phenomenal technology, but that's the case with technology. It always comes, it's a double-edged sword. It'll always have its goods and it'll always have its bad. Boon, bane, or is it for humanity to decide? Is it for policy makers to decide? Is it for the ever-evolving artificial intelligence technology and the people behind this for them to decide? But again, artificial intelligence is coded, it's designed to evolve on its own. So at what level does it stop? Do you agree that school children should not get access to it? Would you agree that government should not get access to it? Would you agree that journalists should not get access to it? There are many different questions. Do we really need journalists in future, writers in future, thinkers in future, if you've got artificial intelligence to do it all? Then, if that happens, ladies and gentlemen, 15, 20, 30, 40, 50 years down the line, will we be smarter or will we be dumber? Plenty of questions, isn't it? Let's try and understand the pros and cons of ChatGPT. Is it the need of the hour? Do we need this tech? Or is this tech inevitable? Those who have accepted it and who understand it, do you need to have a certain level of maturity before you get access to it? Are you okay with our children doing their homework using ChatGPT? Are you okay? Are teachers okay with them accessing this to write their exams, to complete their projects and dissertations? It's got many, many dimensions. Would you not want something which is OpenAI or an AI like this to explain to you our history, our culture, the relationship of every human being with the other, what the technologies of the world are, cultures of the world are, places of the world are? Is that not going to expand the scope of knowledge? Will we need books if we now have ChatGPT? Plenty of questions there, ladies and gentlemen. That's why I said, let's take it up. Let's try and understand. Let's put some thought, test it. In India, right now, it's banned. It's banned in some schools, colleges. In America, it's banned in schools. In China, not directly available. In Afghanistan, totally banned. Should you ban tech? Should you regulate tech? Or should you understand it and see how it evolves? Now, there is another challenge, ladies and gentlemen. Jobs could become redundant. ResumeBuilder.com in its survey covered 1,000 US businesses, and it found that 49% of the companies currently are using ChatGPT, while 30% are planning to do so. It also found that 48% of the companies using ChatGPT said they have replaced the workers. Woo! While 25% of the companies revealed that after using the AI chatbot, they have already saved more than $75,000. The survey, which was conducted in February, showed that the companies are mostly using the AI chatbot for writing code, copywriting, customer support, and others. So, let's take it into the another realm. ChatGPT in educational institutions. What are the pros and what are the cons? Saves time with quick answers. Students could rely heavily on it. Their own thinking capacity. What will happen? There's a computer between these 2 ears, isn't it? So are you going to make that redundant? It's got a different processor and different technique altogether. Can adapt to the learner's style. Can limit the student's creativity. Two arguments, ladies and gentlemen, both sides of the coin. enhance learning, can check preparedness with quizzes. It can help you prepare. It can help you. It can become a tool to aid you, but could also learn limiting experience. Because people would say, you just give me the answer, I don't need to bother. A robotic chatbot, there's no human quotient in it, there's no EQ in it. So do you need to have that EQ or not? And of course, if you want further clarification, you want that touch of a guru. Can ChatGPT or AI, OpenAI, replace the guru? It can work as a guide, explanations, solutions to problems, subject-wise issues. It can open your sphere of knowledge, but it's tech-dependent. That means if there are technical difficulties, it may not be available always. So if it is not available always, then what happens to those who have started leaning on it too much? Will they have lost their ability to do it themselves? Can work as a facilitator in scientific experiments, and of course, limited knowledge can only provide the knowledge that it is trained with or it can access. It can also frustrate students with repetitive, blank, incorrect answers. You can also fool ChatGPT, but can you fool your teacher? ChatGPT at the workplace. Now, again, let's look at the comparisons. It increases the demand for self-service. It's affecting the job market. So these are the for and against positions as far as ChatGPT is concerned. It's a revolutionary technology. People are saying, wow, it's phenomenal. Those who have learned to use it ably are saying, this is phenomenal tech. But there are others who are saying, what about jobs? Anyways, we are worried about unemployment. It will displace low-skilled jobs, clerical work, all of that will go away. Kapoosh. Availability and more engagement. Securing data, malware, threat, it's going to be a reality. And of course, what kind of information is this AI source going to pull and then produce before you? It can doctor its and tailor its output based on what you search for, how you search for, because it will learn. It will adapt itself to each user. That's ability it has. Availability and more engagement, and of course, it increases productivity and efficiency is one aspect. From an organizational point of view, it reduces your headcount, increases your output. There are organizations that are saving money, but it cannot learn to think outside the box. Can it think outside the box? Can it outthink the human mind? The EQ aspect. Less human error, unbiased, 24/7 it is available. Is it really? If there is a crash, what happens? Inability to understand emotions. This lack of EQ is a big question. Ladies and gentlemen, what we've tried to do is get two people on perhaps either side of the spectrum, but both of whom who have sampled ChatGPT and who are putting this tool to use, or they believe this is nothing but abuse. Amritanshu Pandey, Strategy Head, Brihat Works, is with us, and so is Kanish Gaur, Cyber Security Expert. Namaste, gentlemen. This is not a fight.
Namaste.
It's just trying to open the spheres of our thought processes. And we are all entitled to have our own views because this tech is still evolving. Even as we say it's ChatGPT 4, tomorrow we'll wake up, it'll be 5 and it'll be 6. You never know because they're still evolving and this tech is also learning. That's what we're given to understand. But let me ask you, Amritanshu, you work in the education space. Have you sampled ChatGPT and what's your thinking about it?
Namaste, Anandji. Yes,
Namaste.
Thank you. I have sampled ChatGPT and in fact, I've been using it quite extensively. You've touched upon all the variables that we need to think about. There is certainly a lot of reason to be optimistic and excited. So you mentioned how those who are using it extensively are coming back with great reports. So there is a great element of someone who has a technical use case and questions that they need answers to. So if they know what they're asking, they're able to use it in a very good manner. But of course, there are risk areas to think of. So it isn't 100% accurate. There is a whole phenomenon being talked of hallucination, that GPT models are prone to hallucination. They may make up answers. So one has to be careful. As we've always said in Hindi that nakal ke liye bhi akal chahiye.
Akal chahiye.
So that element, of course, So that element, of course, remains. In education space, I think the primary concern we can first talk of is how do our children engage with it, right? And how our children engage with emerging technology has always been a concern. the more exponential technology gets, the more exponential those concerns will fairly be. So let us not try to dismiss them and let us not try to downplay them. For autodidacts, for people who are looking for information or guidance on technical matters, there is great potential here. But absolutely, there is no reason why we would want our children to, let us say, learn about Indian history or learn about culture, as you said, to what is, GPT, it stands for Generative Pre-trained Transformer. So a pre-trained model obviously is trained on specific data. It will reflect specific biases that will be more sharp in cultural areas, soft science areas. So there doesn't seem to be a reason why we would want to rely on it for our children going to it directly in that manner. But pre-trained also means you can build your own models. So for pedagogues, for large institutions, the data and documentation that they need these days in multivariate streams across different education levels, will they be able to utilize this to create their own models trained on their chosen documents, specific streams, narrow streams? Absolutely. As any digital technology, it has a lot of exponential benefit that can be unlocked for various kinds of use cases. But at every step of the way, one has to be careful. And as you said, that one has to know what they're doing. And that has always been true from the days of the fire and the chariot, of course. So, yeah.
You've laid out the opening argument phenomenally, but are there more reasons to worry than celebrate? Kanishk Kaur, where do you stand, being a cyber expert, the ability of AI and a product or a system like ChatGPT?
Anand, thank you for inviting me. Obviously, there are a lot of reasons to worry. If you try writing codes for hacking softwares, for hacking systems, instead of writing them manually, you could use ChatGPT and launch new kinds of malwares, new kinds of Trojans, new kinds of viruses, and automate all of those. Now, if you've got people who are cyber criminals, this is actually a big win for them. They can use this for manipulating and creating cybercrime. This could also be used for information warfare. So if for Anand Narasimhan, I put out a lot of information on the internet, which could be fake and misleading, ChatGPT can pull up all of that information and create a model which could be completely different from what Anand is today. Now, that's a huge risk to anyone who is a public figure, any individual. So that's a big issue with ChatGPT. The other concerns with ChatGPT is that its information is outdated till 2021. So for any analysis, any aspects where you're using ChatGPT, a lot of outcomes could be misleading. ChatGPT could also bring out biases based on the data that you feed. So if you try using ChatGPT and you put information, a lot of time the analysis which ChatGPT gives is not the correct argument. It is purely based on the data that is fed to ChatGPT, and it does use AI.
But you as a cyber expert can understand. Amritanshu as somebody who's learned, who understands and who's in the education space, who understands tech and can figure out these answers are a little bumcum and they're all over the place. So, but a 10-year-old, 15-year-old, 20-year-old, will they have the ability to discern that? That's one point. The counter argument is, if you are saying that ChatGPT can be misused, well, 70% plus of the internet is dark web. But people are still using internet.
They are using internet, but obviously you will have to bring ethics. You will have to draw lines how you disallow misuse of ChatGPT. Any new technology could be far exciting, but you have to curb the misuse. You have to curb where it could be weaponized. So weaponizing of AI is a big threat, right? And this has to be tackled right now. You can't wait for another 6 months or 9 months. We are bringing out data protection bill. We are looking at data protection and privacy as a key element. So can ChatGPT invade into your and my privacy? Those are concerns that need to be addressed.
See, I tell you, you are looking at it, you are looking at weaponizing from a criminal aspect or a deviant mind. But I am also looking at it from an impressionable mind. Amritanshu, where do you stand on this? Would you want 10th standard students, engineering students to be writing their dissertations, PhD people, students look at ChatGPT to complete their thesis? Do you think that's an enabler, or is it something which is perhaps going to devalue and also dumb down the intellectual capacity
These
of
are absolutely
generations?
valid question. Absolutely valid question. Look, there was a time when we used to remember all the phone numbers in our head, right? We used to, and then we moved to writing them down on the diaries. Today, we don't remember even our closest people's phone numbers. They're all on the phone. So, of course, we are offloading a lot of mental load, and that can have a opposite consequence of dumbing down, as you put it. Unsupervised with the most dangerous and cutting edge technologies, do we want young people engaging? No, that is a concern. Should we have bans and stuff? I don't know. That may be a separate question. I am not too sure on that. But what we can do is, if we are vigilant, we can at least ask for and receive controls that mitigate some of this. Not all of it. A lot of the attack vectors that are talked about are absolutely valid. But ChatGPT, for one, is just one of these many models. That is important to keep in mind. So we can have our own trained NLP models fed on data that we choose. So you can build your own biased model as well, if you like. Number two, ChatGPT, for example, has either already or is about to put in a cryptographic watermark in all the code that will be generated, which would allow systems to know that this body of text is generated by an NLP model. So plagiarism check we used to have at one point of time.
Yes.
There are those similar controls being built at this level. You have two image generation tools these days being talked of, Midjourney and Stable Diffusion being the other big one. Now in Midjourney, you cannot input words related to blood, to gore, to pornographic imagery. You cannot use it to generate those images. If you try to countervent it, you might even get banned. Stable Diffusion, on the other hand, you can build your own open source model and do whatever you want with it. So whether we should use our power as consumers and with our wallets to kind of vote here, with which is because he mentioned ethics, and absolutely valid. So is Midjourney kind of ethics what we want to reinforce, or the uncontrolled, untrammeled ethics? Absolutely valid issues, but certainly at what level the concerns of a nation, a sovereign nation, with regards to, let us say, digital attack vectors on AI is one box of concerns. But a teacher, a young student who today, while doing geometry, just needs that one question, the trigonometric angle ka answer, should they be allowed to use it? I mean, absolutely. There are there's a surface level of a lot of harmless, innocuous usage that people can do to develop themselves, to get answers, to solve basic things in life. And as I said, at institutional levels in education, we can use this to also offset the biases, right? So if today ChatGPT shows very obvious biases in terms of its knowledge or commentary on the Western world versus on the rest of the world, and on India, on Indian culture, on Hinduism, you can build your own NLP models fed exclusively on interpretations of Hindu scripture, for example, by Hindu tradition, and not feed it at all, Indology and Western takes on it. And then you can start actually playing in this field as a participative player, as a player with authority.
But then what you're looking at is that sector-specific, segment-specific
it would have to be
AI source, not an open AI source. My concern is it valid, Kanishk Kaur, when you're saying that if it's an open AI source, if the makers of ChatGPT, in this case it's Microsoft, and there will be others who now bring other platforms which would be AI driven, if they start putting limiters that it will be sector specific. So if I'm going to get an AI source in the education domain, it's not going to give you answers to subjects beyond a particular domain. Is it possible to do that? And then it evolves seamlessly or infinitesimally in that particular domain. Is that possible?
I don't think so that's possible. When you're using open source AI, it's going to use various open source intelligence, and it's going to pick up information which could be video, text, and images. Now, what is going to happen is it is going to combine and use some of its model to interpret. You want it to go sector wise? I don't think so that's going to be a possibility. The key concern here is going to be that the sources from where it is picking data, are those really the truthful sources? Are they giving the correct feed? That is something which AI will have to build up, right? So that's going to be one of the key concerns, that if it picks up information from a fake or misleading website or a database, or if it picks up information from dark web, right? which could be really harmful.
Yes.
So how do you prevent that from happening? Those are my bigger concerns here.
Is that possible to do? Final word, Amritanshu?
I mean, these dangers are valid dangers, but walled garden AIs are certainly possible. But I mean, this is a territory where we would get into other ethics as well. Do we want code like this to be open source, transparent, shareable, accessible to everyone? Or do we want it to become more obscure and fenced out? And, then only Microsoft Teams will have, Math GPT 5.2. I don't know which direction we want to go. In either direction, the concerns of AI leakage, of technology running rampant will remain true. So the vigilance we would need to have, the eye for ethics that we would need to have would remain true. Whether or not and how much we participate in this seemingly unstoppable forward march and to what degree of productivity and our own benefit, that I think is in our hands.
Okay, final word. Let me quickly, so boon or bane, which way are you leaning to, Kanishk Kaur? Right now,
I think
as of now,
it's both boon and a bane. The boundaries will have to be drawn to prevent abuse, which could be racial, which could be discriminatory, which could be fake, misleading, or which could be weaponizing AI.
Okay, let me say more
Those
boon,
are
less
limits
bane,
that have
or
to be
more less boon, more bane. Kanishk.
Less, more bane.
More bane, less boon, more bane. Where are you, Amritanshu?
Oh, I mean, it's the fire that Prometheus stole from the gods, but we are thankful he stole it, right? So it's a bane. A boon, sorry.
So it's a boon. So you're saying it's a boon. I'm just going to wind up. Thank you. Great conversation, gentlemen, and let's just hope it evolves towards becoming tech that aids humanity. Somebody recently just asked me this question: what's 22 plus 22 plus 24? Can you do it in your head? Do you need a calculator, or are you asking Google Voice or ChatGPT? So then, are you evolving or are you dumbing it down? Or are you becoming dumber? I'll leave it at that. Thank you very much. Let's move on, gentlemen. Let's move on. On the right stand, we shift focus to the neighborhood which is in a quagmire, ladies and gentlemen. And troubles are only mounting for Pakistan. The latest trouble, once again, with the IMF. Well, Pakistan's IMF, the big problem, because the International Monetary Fund has set up some very, very stringent conditions. Pakistan's growing financial troubles is not meeting anybody who is ready to pull them out of this financial quagmire. The traditional allies are saying, sorry, we are not loosening our purses anymore. Pakistan needs $6.6 billion, and the IMF is saying, reduce your military expenditure and put a pause to your nuclear intent and your nuclear program, especially your long-range nuclear program. Third session of virtual talks for staff-level agreements have remained inconclusive. The IMF has set 5 conditions for Pakistan. That include Pakistan must cut its defense expenditure as they feel it is unjustifiable. The IMF has said that if Islamabad wants cooperation, they need to follow the terms and conditions. Condition 1, ladies and gentlemen, cut 15% in your defense budget and military expenses. Condition number 2, abandon long-range nuclear missile program. Condition number 3, third-party audit of Chinese loans and CPEC. Condition number 4, need to bridge financing gap from friendly nations. Condition number 5, political stability and assurance from opposition leaders that they will continue to honor the conditions set by the IMF and agreed by the current dispensation. So governments may change, but you will continue to adhere to the commitments that have been made. Now, even as Pakistan is battling its worst ever economic crisis, Pakistan's Finance Minister Ishaq Dar has made it clear that there will be no compromise on nuclear program and said that nobody has any right to dictate to Pakistan. Listen in.
is there to compromise anything on the nuclear or the missile program of Pakistan. No way. We are responsible citizens of Pakistan. Nobody has any right to tell Pakistan that what range of missiles it can have and what nuclear weapons it has. We have to have our own deterrence. So the delay is not on the part of the government of Pakistan. It has been extensive engagement, unusual, too lengthy, too long, too demanding, but we have completed everything. What IMF is now asking that they should actually complete and materialize those commitments. That's the only delay, and I can assure this House, the moment it is done and staff level agreement is signed, I will make sure that this, together with MEFP, is put on the website of Pakistan.
So Ishaq Dar says most of it is done and no other nation or no other entity can dictate what a sovereign nation can do and what its programs, what it can undertake and what it can't. But he says that we have almost complied with everything. It's a matter of time. IMF doesn't believe thus, ladies and gentlemen. Let's just look at where Pakistan is currently spending its money. The 22-23 budget, 41.58% of this budget is towards servicing its debt. 16% is towards defense services. 0.95% is towards education. 0.2% is towards health. So where are their priorities? And even in that defense expenditure, a lot of that expenditure is masked as civilian expense since the time of Pervez Musharraf, which the IMF wants it to change. Now, why Pakistan needs the IMF loan? The forex reserves are currently at $4.3 billion as per the State Bank of Pakistan. The rupee, the Pakistani rupee has plummeted to 282 Pakistani rupees per US dollar as per the State Bank of Pakistan. The inflation, 31.5% as per the SBP. Per capita income, $1,658 into 2022 as per the IMF. Current external debt is $126 billion as per the State Bank of Pakistan. So who all are Pakistan indebted to? $2 billion from the UAE, $3 billion from Saudi Arabia, $30 billion from China. These are the bigger lenders. And what happens if Pakistan defaults? If Pakistan defaults, it will be unable to repay commercial loans. Central bank will turn down debt repayment. Downgrading of the country's credit rating will happen. Decrease in dollar inflows that will further limit imports. Impact on the economic output, skyrocketing inflation. These are all the issues that they will face. In the past, IMF has bailed out Pakistan so many number of times. 21 loans in the last 70 years itself. So when all did IMF bail out Pakistan? 1960 to 1970, 112,500 was given. Dollars were given in 2 tranches. 1970 to 1980, $330,000 were given in 4 tranches. 1980 to 1990, $28,42,560,000 were given in 4 tranches. 1990 to 2000, that number ballooned, ladies and gentlemen. It went up to $2,95,990,000. 2000 to 2010, then further up. There you go, 8 crore 73 lakh, 87 lakh $34,600,000. These are as per the IMF. These are the doles that have gone in, the loans that have gone in when IMF has bailed out Pakistan. This money are figures in Pakistani rupees, not in dollars. They are in Pakistani rupees. I'm just going to check that quickly and get a confirmation. As per the IMF, these are these numbers in dollars? I'm just going to check with my team. It's there flashing at the top of your screen. Let's just confirm. Yeah. So figures are in SDR. So the figures are in SDRs. Now, Hamid Khan, senior Pak journalist, is with us. Professor Brahma Chalani is also with us, strategic affairs expert. My namaste, gentlemen. This current scenario, Hamid Khan ji.
Yeah.
How is Pakistan planning to get out of this? It's not a healthy situation for any nation to be in.
I fully agree with you that the situation is very grave and it is critical. But as I have said in few other programs, it's not that Pakistan is on a dead end or Pakistan is on a tunnel where it's not going to be ended. The actual problem is that it's the problem of misgovernance. It's a problem of incapability, and we are looking for this year is election year in Pakistan, and if there will be a stable government in Pakistan, there are a lot of other change we are expecting. And second thing is that there is no question. There is a very clear statement from the government of Pakistan as well that there is no question that Pakistan nuclear assets or nuclear program or anything will be compromised or even questioned at any time with any state from any institution or any monetary institution as well. There is very clear evidence that Pakistan is coming out of this mess because once Pakistan's agreement with IMF is done, Pakistan will have other support from the friendly countries as well. I mean, I fully agree with you that there is a great, unfortunately, a very bad misplanning and bad governance by the current government. But it doesn't mean that Pakistan has lost everything. Pakistan is a very resilient nation, and they will come out of it. It is a matter.
No, Hamid Khanji, see, there is one point that the government can say and the political leadership can say that no, nobody can dictate terms to us. But what is priority for this current government or any government in Pakistan is another aspect. Is your priority at a time आपके जेब में पैसा नहीं है, आपको किसी से मांगना पड़ रहा है पैसा? Are you going to take that money and push towards military expenditure, or are you going to push it towards ensuring that the economic hardship of the people of the country reduces? You will also agree that there has been an unbridled access of public taxpayer money for the military establishment, which has also hurt Pakistan, with the military controlling a lot of the industry. From Musharraf ji's time, correct me if I'm wrong, even the pensions have become civilian expenses. How can army personnel or military personnel pensions become civilian expenses?
I'll tell you one thing. I mean, it is lot of propaganda as well that the 61% of the budget goes to the army. It is not like that. I mean, Pakistan, unfortunately, we have 70 years of history of neighboring countries where our army is in a state of war all the time. Whether it was 65, whether it was 71, whether it was Kargil and latest Abhinandan incident. We have to retaliate with our enemy, and that's why Pakistan army has to keep strengthen itself. That is the problem. But on the other
can you believe your own argument, sir? Can you believe your own argument? In India last, according to your former Prime Minister and current Prime Minister, India last borrowed in 1988 from the IMF. No. After that, we've not. Okay, you are saying that we are two nations who are constantly at war. We are sitting at more than $600 billion plus of forex reserves today. It is a state of constantly at war with Pakistan, and Pakistan is sitting at $4.3 billion, and that too, with that includes $1.1 billion recently released by the IMF. So it's okay for you to push a very strong argument, but braggadocio has to also come with a certain level of pragmatism. Respectfully, Hamid Khanji, I'm not here to fight and say this, but anything what is happening right now is unhealthy for Pakistan is a reality. You cannot be in denial on that. Brahma Chalani ji, quick word. How can Pakistan get out of this? Can they borrow more? If they continue to borrow more, are they going to alleviate themselves out of this mess?
I'm afraid Pakistan's economic and political troubles are likely to exacerbate. In the coming months, the economic woes will worsen, and that in turn will exacerbate the political turmoil in Pakistan. But let's be clear on one thing. Ever since Pakistan was created, it has lurched from one crisis to another. It's never been free of a crisis. The reason is that our fellow panelist was talking about misgovernance and economic mismanagement. The problem is actually deeper. The problem is a skewed civil-military relationship. The military is unaccountable, and the military was for long interfering in strategic decisions, and it continues to interfere in all strategic matters. But more importantly, it's also now interfering in economic management. It has its own $100 billion economic empire. So, given the lack of accountability, given the fact that the military, the main power in Pakistan, is not accountable, how can Pakistan become stable? how can governance become good? It's impossible unless the civil-military relationship is corrected, which is not possible in the present circumstances, given the fact that the government in office, led by Shehbaz Sharif, is there because of the military support. Without the military support, Shehbaz Sharif will not be the Prime Minister. Given those realities and given the fact that Pakistan's financial condition is quite bad, I think even an IMF bailout, the $1.1 billion that Pakistan can expect if it reaches agreement with the IMF, even that will not help to stabilize the Pakistani economy. That's the reason why the IMF is insisting that other countries that have pledged bailouts to Pakistan, those commitments should also be honored so that Pakistan has more than $6 billion that it needs to stabilize its economy right now.
No, point made. I have got another dynamic here, limited time, so I'll just move on. See, this is something where you have to get out of denial, and Pakistan needs to look inward and say what is priority for it: economy or being the epicenter of terror or otherwise. And there is a reason why I'm quoting Dr. Jaishankar, a former founding member of Islamic State Khorasan province, ISKP, has claimed that Pakistan is providing funds to the ISIS group. In a recent interview, Sheikh Abdul Rahim Muslim Dost, who surrendered before the Taliban, claimed that the fund to the ISKP, which is behind the recent suicide attacks in Afghanistan, was provided by Pakistan and the central team of the ISIS in Syria. Muslim Dost made the revelations during an interview with the pro-Taliban Al-Mirsad media. Here are some of the revelations that he has made. The first revelation, that Pakistan is providing funds to the ISIS group. The second revelation, that Pakistan and IS Central from Syria and Iraq are providing funds to ISKP. Revelation 3, he further claimed that initially in 2015, when the ISKP was spreading its roots, or ISIS was spreading its roots in Syria and Iraq, Pak-based Lashkar-e-Taiba had provided 50 lakh Pakistani rupees to the ISKP. Fourth revelation, he added that extortion and kidnappings were another source of income. The fifth revelation made by this former Taliban leader is that the attack at the Pak embassy in Kabul was just drama. Nothing happened to the Pakistani ambassador. Only a bodyguard was injured. Sixth revelation, he said the Kabul attack was hatched to divert attention and they wanted to whitewash the ISKP. And another CNN News 18 mega exclusive. Pak government has officially made a confession in writing saying that the Tehreek-e-Taliban Pakistan is running a parallel government in Pakistan. TTP is running a parallel government in Pakistan. CNN News 18 has accessed a letter written by the Khyber Pakhtunkhwa governor to the Election Commission of Pakistan. KPK governor has written to the Election Commission saying very cleverly that census work can't be done due to the parallel government of TTP. He said it very clearly there. In the letter, he is saying that this has created constitutional anomalies by census teams not being able to complete the process. The governor has also said that the situation is volatile and in this situation, going for elections will be dangerous. The letter also says that due to long-drawn war on terror and security-centric policies, Khyber Pakhtunkhwa is the epicenter of terror activities in the region. The letter also says post-US withdrawal, establishment of the Taliban government in Afghanistan and reconciliation process has compounded the security challenges of the province. So TTP is running a parallel government in Khyber Pakhtunkhwa, so we can't complete census. Professor Brahmachalani.
On ISIS-K, you're right, absolutely, Anand, on ISIS-K. ISIS-K has little relationship with the ISIS founded by the late Abu Bakr al-Baghdadi. Rather, as part of Pakistani intelligence deception operations to build plausible deniability in terror attacks, ISIS-K draws its cadres largely from the Taliban special forces, the Haqqani network. The Haqqani network provides the cadres to ISIS-K. that clearly shows that the common link between Haqqani network and ISIS-K is Pakistan's rogue agency, ISI. And the Haqqani network, as we all know, are the money and muscle behind the Taliban. So given those realities, and given the fact that ISIS-K, the Taliban, the Haqqani network, even the Pakistani Taliban are in some ways or the other linked, it goes to show how Pakistan's alphabet soup of jihadists and terror groups is not only a threat to the entire region, but is also destabilizing Pakistan. If you want to make terrorism as an instrument of state policy, sooner or later, terrorism is going to also destabilize your own country. And this is what Pakistan is reaping today.
Hamid Khan ji, your KPK governor is writing something like this.
I mean, I'm very surprised about his letter because I knew that this current government is trying to make any possible excuse to delay the elections. And that is what they are trying to do, but they do not understand the repercussions of such letters. I mean, it is absolutely, to be honest, I know the ground reality. There is no parallel government, there is no such thing. But because this current government wants to delay the elections and they want to use any excuse in front of election commission, we do understand there is existence of TTP, but it's on a very, very low numbers and they have no control on any like cities or anything. Yes, they do have some control on Afghanistan-Pakistan borders, but it's not going to affect the census or the election in the KP province. And I think when they submit their submission in election commission, the court will throw out these excuses, because on ground reality, as far as the state of the writ is concerned, it's entirely over the KPK, and I believe that he will be answerable to this letter as well. It is very surprising for me if that letter is true.
And there are other possibilities also here and other questions also that arise, but I am short on time, so I have to keep this and pause it here. But it's just a humble suggestion. You got to sort out your priorities. Your priority cannot be to fuel animosity with your neighboring nations. It has to be first have a prosperous nation and secure the lives and interests of the people. Right now, the priorities seem to be all over the place, everywhere else other than focusing on the four provinces that belong to Pakistan. 4 provinces that belong to Pakistan. Seriously, sir, seriously. With due respect, thank you very much. I've got to wind up on that note. We're going to quickly take a very, very short break. No likes for TikTok. Experts are warning of proxies. More nations join with concerns, with America turning around and telling TikTok, offload the Chinese investment and involvement if you want to continue in the US of A. New Zealand has also banned it for government employees. Stay with us.
Certain private individuals were quote-unquote promoted by this government. That's your allegation. Prayagraj ji, please respond.
I would emphatically say that Rahul Gandhi had absolutely no locus standi to go to the foreign soil and criticize our country. He has tarnished the image of our country. He has hurt its reputation and he has demeaned its status, and which is unacceptable. And he had enough opportunity to criticize the government, and he is very much well within his right, I would say, as an opposition leader, to say whatever he wants to say against the government, but this should be within the boundaries of our country. He just cannot go to the foreign soil and start seeking interventions from Europe and America, and he just cannot say that all the institutions within the country are actually under danger. And the democracy is unsafe.
To be the devil's advocate here. To be the devil's advocate
here. We have all heard the speeches
the defense that the Congress party is putting forward is. The defense that the Congress party is putting forward is that this was some kind of a metaphor that he used, and he wasn't really seeking foreign intervention. That's what the Congress party has said. I want to bring in other guests as well, Mr. Rashid Kidwai and Yogendra Kapoor. Yogendra ji, first to you. When it comes to these allegations of crony capitalism, certain corporates and individuals being benefited, or the allegation of some kind of quid pro quo or nexus between one particular individual, industry and enterprise and the government of the day, is there any evidence on record, prima facie, to even begin an investigation? I ask this to you as a subject matter expert. Yogendraji.
See, first thing I would like to say is that we should, not jump to any conclusions on a premature level at this stage. Once the Supreme Court has constituted a committee, it has been given a particular time frame of 2 months to submit the report. The committee comprises of very eminent people who are experts in respective fields and who have complete knowledge of how the stock market moves, how the business valuations takes place. So I think we should wait for the report to be submitted to the Supreme Court by the committee. And it is only thereafter that we should come to any of the, issues if they relate to any investigation parts. I am also sure that the committee members are fully empowered to take the assistance of any of the investigation agencies of India while, completing their report. So the point is that at this moment and at this juncture, there is no prima facie evidence to say that there is crony capitalism or there are charges which are, apparently proved.
Rahul Gandhi says that if 3 top netas or the mantris from the government have made allegations against him, he should be allowed an opportunity to respond on the floor of the House. The Congress party continues to rake up the Adani issue, saying it's a matter of corruption and quid pro quo.
Very good evening. I would inform or rather make Rahul Gandhi remember through you that when he had been elected as the MP of Wayanad and had entered into the Lok Sabha on the first day, he had to swear by the Constitution of India. And the oath was, as I'm saying right now, I'm just, quoting the oath. He had said, I elected as member of the House to swear in the name of God that I will bear true allegiance to the Constitution of India and that I will uphold the sovereignty and integrity of India and that I will faithfully discharge my duty. Now here is an MP.
Back on the right stand with a fresh twist to the Umesh Pal murder case. Big news coming through. The Uttar Pradesh Special Task Force has detained a person accused of sheltering shooters of Umesh Pal. According to police sources, they have detained Qayyum Ansari for providing a car and accommodation to Asad and Mohammad Ghulam. Sources have also informed that both the shooters, Asad and Mohammad Ghulam, had travelled to the other side of the border into Nepal on the second day after the shoot. Qayyum Ansari had reportedly helped the shooters after they had crossed over to Nepal via Bahrej in Uttar Pradesh. Police sources have said that Qayyum Ansari has underworld connections and had earlier been questioned by the STF in connection with other cases. But among all this, the big question remains, where is Asad? The third son of Atiq Ahmed, the man who executed the murder of Umesh Pal, who stepped out of the Creta, stepped out of the car and also is seen taking out his gun and chasing Umesh Pal. He remains missing. More news coming. The NIA has submitted fresh charge sheet in the IS conspiracy case. NIA has filed a charge sheet against 2 accused in the Shivamogga Islamic State conspiracy case. The case relates to the conspiracy hatched to further the activities of the Islamic State by carrying out acts of arson, sabotage and violence in the state of Karnataka. Maz Munir Ahmed and Sayyid Yasin of Shivamogga have been charged under various sections. The NIA claims both BTech graduates had been radicalized and motivated by an online foreign-based handler to target public and private properties. NIA claims the accused also burnt an Indian national flag and recorded a video to establish his anti-India credentials. NIA further has detailed that these ISIS-inspired terror operatives were being paid in cryptocurrencies by their online handler by fund transfers from abroad. Investigations have revealed that Mars received crypto equivalent to around 1.5 lakh rupees from the online handler into accounts of his friends, whereas Syed Yasin received 62,000 rupees into the account of a friend. Moving on, TikTok. Time is ticking for TikTok, ladies and gentlemen, a platform which has been under the radar for not just the kind of information and the kind of messaging that it was sending across society, but more importantly to the principal shareholders and whether or not it was siphoning back investigation. In June 2020, India announced a complete ban on TikTok. Then, Afghanistan was the next nation to announce a complete ban in April 2022. Iran also has now announced a complete ban. Jordan in December 22, again complete ban for inciting murder and chaos. Many believe that TikTok is siphoning off data and it is now backed by the Chinese state, which is also pulling out data, and it is using this data to further create social unrest and push and peddle certain narratives in these countries where TikTok has got very popular. Taiwan also banned this in December 2022, where state-owned devices were banned from running TikTok. The US in Feb 2023 has said that TikTok will be removed from government workers' devices. It was a 30-day deadline that was given, and US is a country which has more than 100 million users of TikTok, and it has now come out and said that unless TikTok offloads the shareholding of ByteDance, which is the Chinese state-owned company, a state-backed company, it will consider banning TikTok altogether on US soil. Canada by Feb 2023 has banned TikTok on government devices. Britain, March 2023, TikTok on government devices have been banned, but it's available to public. Denmark, March 2023, Danish Defense Ministry has banned TikTok on employee work phones. Belgium, March 2023, Belgium has banned TikTok from government phones. New Zealand, by the end of March, ban on devices that have access to Parliament. Growing concerns over the TikTok app, accused of collecting excessive data, allegations that it could be used to spy on users, accused of sharing user data with the Chinese government, and it's been accused of spreading misinformation which leads to unrest, accused by the Delhi police of spreading misinformation during the 2020 riots. Plenty. Chinese Foreign Ministry has said that they have taken note of the latest developments.
We have taken note of the relevant reports. China has always maintained that the issue of data security should not become a tool for individual countries to generalize the concept of national security, abuse national power, and powerlessly suppress enterprises of other countries. We call on the countries concerned to recognize the objective facts, effectively comply with the rules of the market economy and the principle of fair competition, and stop generalizing and abusing the concept of the national security, and provide a fair, transparent, and non-discriminatory business environment for enterprises of all countries.
We have with us NS Napenai, founder Cyber Sathi Foundation. Namaste. Now let me ask you, how serious is this concern with TikTok? Because recently we did a story that wherever TikTok has been banned, it's now surfaced as mirrors or alternatives like Tiki or some other platforms.
Yeah.
So should this platform be banned? What should be done? Are nations right in
this is
voicing
where the
concerns?
difficulty is always going to be. Because if you're going to talk banning, then there are going to be these tributaries, it's like a river. You block in one place, they will find a way another, through other paths of least resistance, right? Because this is just a mere resistance. So the way I'm looking at it is actually a little simple. If you look at the problem today, the real problem is in terms of one, the misuse of data, the misuse of a platform possibly, and you want remedies which will resolve that. So what you really need is some international interventions which will lay down certain ground rules in terms of what is permissible or impermissible in terms of usage of data or a platform. And again, it is all again going to circle back to intermediary liabilities and for expedited takedowns and blocking of content. So if we don't have harmonized laws, and these harmonizations can't just be with like-minded nations, So with all the Western countries thinking similarly or India joining that fray is not going to help. We also need countries like China, Russia and other jurisdictions to come into this kind of a harmonized process and understand that you have to use your sovereign rights also judiciously and with responsibility. I know it may sound utopian,
Yes.
but I don't see how corporates are also going to grow otherwise unless this kind of a protection is extended.
But why would nations want to do this? Because if Chinese state-backed and the fear is that Chinese state-backed entities are actually siphoning off data, and then they are, poisoning the minds or influencing the minds of society in certain other countries to their own interest. So if I keep India diffused, if I keep America diffused, cause social unrest, that country will not grow. Rate of growth will slow down. It's only going to help me, my comprehensive national power policy. So, and use whatever I want to do. So how do you get nations aboard, or does each one have to fend for themselves? That unless software platforms park their data on the sovereign nation they are offering or operating on, they will not be allowed. Is that a possibility?
Well, currently it looks like it's each to their own. So each of the nations are ring fencing to protect themselves. But ultimately, if you want, looking at it as a global and free data flow, otherwise, we're really heading towards a data localization regime. And it's not going to be long before India starts rethinking this process also, right? So if you're really going to think global, then unless you have laws or regulations which ring fence what is permissible and impermissible, and where is there going to be a remedy when it is cross-border, when these lines are crossed, unless we have those kind of remedies, it is always going to be each nation for themselves.
Or would we have to then enter into bilateral, multilateral data protection treaties or data sharing treaties? And with how many nations are we going to be able to sign that? Right
or
now,
soft laws, which could possibly come from UN.
But how many nations follow what the UN is also spelling out? That's also another concern. UN increasingly has been called a toothless body, which itself needs a rejuvenation and a rework. It's all a complete overhaul altogether. Is there an immediate solution?
Immediate solution will always be this kind of a blocking or a takedown process, because one, we can't turn a blind eye to the fact that this malaise is there with platforms, right? So we have to understand that the risks are there. Whether we want to amputate or merely treat the problem is the issue today. People, it seems like there was an attempt at merely treating the malaise earlier, but the easier or the low-hanging fruit seems to be the amputation or the ban, which a lot of countries have been resorting to. Only the extent of the ban in terms of it being absolute or with respect to government entities or personnel, etc., appears to be varying. But the immediate solution again is mostly knee-jerk. What I was asking for and what I started off with is a much more organic process to be in place rather than merely resorting to knee-jerk reactions every time.
Well, but what you're asking for is also something like climbing Mount Everest or perhaps beyond. Like you said, utopian, quite utopian. And as Napin, I thank you very much for your time. I have run out of time here on my show. So winding up the right stand, taking a very short break. Brass Tacks follows.
Inform or rather make Rahul Gandhi remember through you that when he had been elected as the MP of Wayanad and had entered into the Lok Sabha on the first day, he had to swear by the Constitution of India. And the oath was, as I'm saying right now, I'm just, quoting the oath. He had said, I elected as member of the House to swear in the name of God that I will bear true allegiance to the Constitution of India and that I will uphold the sovereignty and integrity of India and that I will faithfully discharge my duty. Now here is an MP who goes to Britain, who goes to Cambridge University in London and talks ill of the systems in India. Now during Bharat Jodo Yatra, right from Kashmir to Kanyakumari, wherever the opportunity was there for him. He spoke ill of the government. He spoke ill of the Prime Minister.
Prashnaji, I'm sorry I'm interrupting you in the middle of the argument. We'll fix your audio. I think there's a problem with your mic. I'll come back to you. In the meanwhile, the points that you've raised. Jyotimani ji.
I couldn't hear.
Yeah, there's a problem with your audio and mic. We'll just fix that for her. Jyotimani ji, I'm coming to you. Rahul Gandhi said that he has said nothing ill about the institutions of India or nothing ill about Indian democracy. Multiple issues have been raised by the opposition parties. But I ask this to you as a citizen of this country, that why is the legislative business being held hostage? There are about 3 dozen bills which are pending for some kind of consideration by the elected parliament of the day, and one adjournment after another. Isn't the opposition also to be held accountable when it comes to the constructive functioning of Lok Sabha and Rajya Sabha?
See, we have cooperated all along, unlike the BJP in opposition when we were in the government. See, it is the responsibility of the government to run the house smoothly when the opposition is.
Good evening, hello and welcome to Brass Tacks. I'm Anusha Soni. The first week of the second leg of the budget session was a washout in Parliament, with the Congress and the BJP engaged in a bitter war of political narrative. Adjournment, disruption and sloganeering was the order of the week. Both sides have refused to budge. BJP wants Rahul Gandhi to apologize because he allegedly disrespected Indian democracy abroad and sought foreign intervention in India's domestic affairs. That's the political allegation against Rahul Gandhi.